G'day YouTube! Today we're indoors. Slight departure from my usual content. It's time to upgrade the potato here behind me. Alright, it's actually not a bad rig. It's a Core i7 with a 5820 CPU, so it's one of the hexa-cores. It's got 16 gigs of RAM and whatnot. It's not a bad machine, but probably going to be my last upgrade for a long time. So I built that one. Built a few over the years. Heck, I was building them when there was 386s. Probably a lot before a lot of your times. So I spent the last couple of hours backing up my my C drive. If you've never done one before, that's the most timely part, is backing up your computer, because anytime you do a significant change with the Windows operating system, it's going to give you the old, oh, you got to reinstall because you changed something. Even though it's the same hard drives and video cards and everything else. But motherboard, CPU, and RAM is a big deal. Alright, so we splurged. I got myself a Core i9 9900K CPU. Comes in this cool looking 12-sided, I don't even know what you call that. For this time, a pretty decent CPU. 2 weeks from now, it'll probably be out-of-date garbage when you see, you know, the way the computer world works. Okay, for motherboard, I got a MSI MPG 2390. I've used MSI once before. That's actually what's in my current rig right now. I liked it. It worked well. It was easy to set up. So I went with them again. In the past, I've used a lot of Asus. They were my go-to brand for motherboards for a long time. But, you know, you got to try different things. You never know. They might suck. They might be good. And in this case, MSI never let me down last time, so why would they this time? And I picked up another one I've never used before, some Patriot RAM. This is Viper Steel. This was a pretty good deal. It's PC4, 4400, pretty fast RAM. Sorry, 35,200, but 4400 megahertz RAM. Yeah, I've never used Patriot. They get pretty good reviews. Memory's dirt cheap right now compared to what it used to be years ago. So I bought 2 sets of 16 for a total of 32. First time I've ever gone over 16 on a machine. So we're going to be reusing most of what's in here right now. The Corsair 540 case, this big case, I just love this thing. So much room to work. The power supply is good. All my hard drives, I got 6 of them. They're smaller hard drives, but I got 1 3 terabytes, a couple of 2 terabytes, and then a couple SSDs. Okay, so the video card in this is staying. I just replaced that last year. It's an Asus ROG Strix 2070. Pretty beefy card, I guess. Again, a year from now it'll be junk. The old one I had in there was a 1080, and I had liquid cooling in this thing. It was a Corsair H something or other. Doesn't matter. I beat it up with an axe. It leaked, and of course, what's right under it? Your expensive video card. So it leaked right on my video card and toasted that real good. As strange, I've had multiple liquid coolers over the past, and I've never had a problem. Just that one leaked enough that it fried my video card. Alright, so this monster case here, I had to raise the camera way up because this thing is so bloody big. But I love it. I just came back from the garage. I took it out and blew most of the dust out of it, which, one thing about this 540 case, it does seem to pick up and generate a lot of dust. Fortunately, I've got it set up in a push-pull configuration, so on the front of this, there's a screen over these 2 big fans, so it sucks air in here. Most of the dust gets trapped on that screen before it ever gets into the machine. But it doesn't matter what you do, there's still going to be dust in these things. This case is really cool because it's got these slide-in hard drive bays here. Okay, no cabling required. They literally just slide on tracks and click into place. I love them. And there's room in the back for a bunch of SSDs and your optical drives and all that sort of thing. Anyways, enough about the case. Yes, I like it. So the first thing is going to be getting the video card out. Okay, so you got your power going into the card. The screws up front. And these are the big ones. I like these. That's old people with big, beaten up old hands. Okay, you don't even need a screwdriver. You can just turn them off by hand. It's a little tight in here, but you can't get at it. All right. With this monster cooler, it's actually pretty difficult to get the little clip back there. You can see there's just not a whole lot of ways to get at it. Okay, so you push the little clip out of the way. Normally this, if you don't have a monster, you just hit it with your thumb. This one's a big one. All right, nice big video card. The other reason I like the big case, because it accommodates these monster cards. Like that's the big triple fan one. So it's even, like you can see the fans extend out past here quite a bit. I had a case one time where I actually had hard drive bays up here like a standard configuration. I actually had to chop some of the hard drive bay aluminum away to get the video card in. Okay, so the cooler comes out real easy. We've got these metal spring-loaded clips to take the fans off. And this one here is a big plastic clip because I don't know why they don't bother to give you the second one like that, but I really do like the cooler. The temps never ever got hot with this one. I mean, I like the liquid coolers as well, but so this has a complete bracket that you just screw on to any standard fan, and that just clips on. Quite nice. Now, once you get that, it exposes the Phillips here. Now, one thing I probably should have mentioned before you start working on your computer, you should always ground yourself out to the case or use one of them anti-static straps. But an old radio operator from the Army, and those were the dudes that did all our electronics back in the day, told me all you got to do is hold on to the case for a little while and that'll get the static electricity out of your body. So that's all I do. All right, so one Phillips screw right there on this cooler. And you can see there's a adapter bracket there to stand off. So a nice big cooler. I love these Cool Master ones. You'd think something that big would be heavy, but it's actually quite light, being aluminum like it is. And to attach it is just a clip that goes onto this side of the bracket, and then the one screw onto this side. Those brackets, obviously, they screw right through your motherboard onto the other side. All right, so now it's easy to get at. All you got to do is take your RAM sticks out. In this case, I'm going to leave the RAM sticks in because this motherboard is going to the child. I'm just going to unplug the fans now that I can get at them easily. Get those out of the way. And just start unhooking things. Now, everything has a tab that you push on. It ain't rocket science. That's about the hardest one. There we go. This is your other power for the main board. All right, I have the add-on USB ports because I have a lot of weird stuff plugged in. The HD audio, another system fan for the front. This is all your buttons, your switches, your hard drive lights and everything. I like this because it's got the adapter. You don't have to fiddle around with each one individually. You just plug them into here and then you can plug the whole thing in. It only goes in one way, so you can't screw it up. As you can see, I have a lot of hard drives. Okay, so your next step is to remove all the motherboard mounting screws. You can see basically you look in your corners, and then there's usually one or two here in the middle. One here, and just pull those out. Okay, so now we can extract the motherboard. Alright, so the attachment hardware here is a little different for this socket set than my old fan. Fortunately, I kept everything from the set because they're universal. For the 1151, so you have to put these weird slideys in, and they are held in by another little plastic thingy here. So you put the that in, and it just clips into place and locks it all in. So we got to do 4 of them. How universal can you make it without turning it into a dog's breakfast? Well, you're just about there. A lot of little parts that drop and lose. And alright, so you end up with that little octopus mess. Goes onto the back of your motherboard like so. And they are adjustable, so you can slide them in and out a little bit. And that's what you're looking for on the back side. Now you got to turn it over while holding it. Then uses a different standoff. This one. Okay, so you have to screw these on now. Never a quiet moment. See, this is why I like to be outside working. You hear all them dogs barking and kids screaming? Okay, so the little bars go back in. And they have, of course, adjustable different holes that you can use. You see I got the one bracket in here for the cooler, just to hold everything in place. This bracket here I can't put in yet because it interferes with the arm on the CPU. See, there's no way I would be able to get that up. Okay, so you have to remove your little cover here, like so, and that exposes your socket. All right, you definitely want to make sure you got completely static free before you go and touch this. Your CPU, and free of its incredibly complicated case. Clean, dry hands, and don't touch the pins. That'll only go in one way. Okay, different ones have different methods. These ones have, these ones have little cutouts right here, and you can see there's an arrow pointing to the master spot. You can see where the cutouts would interact right there. It only goes in one way. Never touch the bottom where all your pins are, and it just sits in there like so. You don't have to push it, don't have to pry it, don't have to screw it, don't gotta glue it. Put the cover down, make sure it's in, and just push down. With the spring-loaded cover, your CPU is installed. Simple as that. Okay, so I did attach both bars now. CPU's in. I did a test fit. It's going to work out just fine. Your thermal paste, you don't need to go crazy with this. Okay, all I do is something like that. And, you know, you can use your bloody finger. Who gives a shit? It's thick goop, and it'll spread out. Once it squeezes down and heats up, I'll tell you what, it'll be just fine. Okay, so thermal paste, you don't got to go crazy. You're not icing a cake here. Motherboard is sitting in its place. The back plate for the back of the case is inserted. You just push that in and make sure it's all the way in. It's kind of spring pressure, so when you put your motherboard in, slide it in and drop it down. There's an indexing pin on this one right here. So that tells you your motherboard's in the right place. You should be good to go to put your screws in. Just make sure you haven't pinched any cables, because it would suck to have to go back now and pull it out because you left, say, that cable underneath. Alright, so the motherboard is all screwed down. Okay, we can start plugging things back in. Alright, here we are back at it. I had to stop to take the kid to a hockey game. So I was plugging things in. That's what I was doing last. Okay, so you got your CPU power, your main power here. We're going to go ahead and jam our RAM in here. Oh, I'm excited to put that in. Look at that. Woo! and that just looked killer. Okay, so it's important you know what slots you're putting them in here, because you have to pair them up. Not on all motherboards, but on this one. So if you were to put, say, only 2 out of 4 in, you have to make sure that you put them in the right slots, or else they won't work properly. Okay, so for example, if I were to put them this way, if this motherboard wants dual channel, it won't work because it needs to be in 1 and 3 for dual channel. Okay, now I'm just pulling that out of thin air. I haven't read the manual when it comes to that because I'm filling all 4 slots, but make sure you do your reading and see what slots you have to use for your dual channel memory sticks. Okay, so make sure you line them up right. They only go in one way. There's a slot on the pin side of the memory module, and there's a spot here that it has to line up. If you try to put it in this way, you'll see that they don't quite line up. All you need to do is push them in, get them lined up, put a thumb on either end, and just give it a little push, and you'll notice the clips should go up on their own, so make sure they're down when you start. Alright, so there's 32 gigs of Patriot Viper in there. Alright, all the pins, all the retainers are up. We're in. So with that out of the way, I can go ahead and put my CPU cooler in. Alright, this one, like I said, is real easy. It's only got 1 screw. This side just clips onto the side of the steel here, and then you screw in the other side. It can go either way. So do a quick test fit and see which way you want. This one's a bit difficult to see what you're doing, but you can pretty much feel it. Alright, so there's my Big Bad Cool Master cooler in. And just start plugging stuff in here. That's my front USBs. A little more light on the subject. I can see a little bit now. Okay, so you need to read the motherboard manual or the motherboard itself, because it'll tell you where everything plugs in. JFP1 is your front panel connector. So that's your on-off switch, your reset, your hard drive lights. Okay, again, if you don't have this extra block like I do, you have to put it on one each individually. You can see the LED has a plus minus, power switch, and they're all labeled hard drive LED, plus minus, reset switch, etc. Okay, it only goes on one way if you got this little block, and that's all there is to that. If you don't, again, if you don't have that, you have to put each pin on individually, and they're a bit of a pain because they do tend to, because they're small pins, they don't fit really tight, and they tend to wobble around a little bit. God, everybody's all crazy about these LED lights these days. You gotta have an LED for a cable, and you gotta have an LED for your fans. Who gives a damn? It doesn't make it work any better. So, system fan, I got on the back side 2 little guides here. And look on your motherboards. You'll see there's 4 pins, but there's only 3 on most fans. Alright, those guides will tell you which pins to go on because the guide doesn't go over all the way. Come here. And other than the CPU fan itself, okay, which you want definitely on the CPU one, the rest of the system fans don't really matter where you plug them in. Just route your cables neatly as you want. Alright, so I wrap them around the fan like that. It always turns into a shit show as you get more and more cables in, but these new cases are so well designed. Like this one, all your power supply wires are hidden. They're in the back half of this case, which you never see. They come through these nice clean rubber grommets. You got 1 above, 2 above, and then you got 6 up front. And then you got another slot down below here. You can slide even more cables through. So there really is no excuse to have a whole bunch of cabling in the way like in the old days. Got no hard drives in the way. Other than your video card 6-pin PCI Express cables, there's really not much up here when you're said and done. Now you notice there's a directional arrow on this. Okay, so the arrow says that this fan sucks air in. So I want that pulling air from the front, clean air, into the CPU cooler. And I'm going to put the back one blowing it off, so I have a circulation instead of both fans blowing in or both fans blowing out kind of deal. Big hands make for difficult computer assembly. There we go. Go on like this. They're a little sketchy. I will say that about it. Okay, so end result, the clip goes into that second fin. This fan pulls, that fan pushes. I got nice airflow through my cooler. Okay, when it comes to hard drives and routing, it's nice to have them all organized so you know what's what, especially if you've got multiple hard drives of the same size and type. You can plug them in anywhere. It doesn't matter because you can sort all this out in your CMOS later to help preserve what little bit of sanity I have left. The drive letters are all defined in Windows, and in boot priorities are in CMOS. So if you want to mess around, then you go right ahead. I'll do it the easy way later. Alright, 6 drives plugged in, and I'm done. Oh, back USB. I have an add-on. Gives me 4 more USB 2.0 slots. Which, if you're into like flight sims or you got steering wheels or any of that kind of thing on the go, it's quite handy to have. Alright, now the USBs, I gotta figure out which one those are. Can't read. USB 3 and USB 4. There we go, right there, nice and easy. And again, they got the 1 pin missing, which usually matches up, which helps you identify which is plugging into where. When I was a kid and my grandmother would ask me to thread a sewing needle, I could never figure out quite why she couldn't see to do it. I know now. So I am ready for the video card. This is a nice unit. I blew it up, blew all the dust out of her, and we're ready to put her in. Alright, so you can put it in either of your PCI Express slots, but I like to go with the top one because I like it when my CPU cooler leaks all over and ruins it. Alright, so line it up and just give it a push and it'll click right into place. Nothing to it. 2 screws for that. Okay. Lastly, 2 times PCI Express power. And you can't screw it up because the pins are all different shapes. Right, they click in. And just line them up. And click them in. This one's a 6. See, when you have hands that are used to doing mechanic work and you're all busted up, just little fine stuff is not so fun. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's all it takes to upgrade your computer. Nothing to be afraid of. You don't need some kind of super technical expertise to do it. Just make sure you match up parts. There's your motherboard, your CPU, 32 gigs of RAM, and the rest of the parts that I reused from the old one, the video card, the power supply. Now remember, the power supply may or may not work depending on how big of an upgrade you're doing. Video cards haven't changed a whole lot in decades. PCI Express is PCI Express, so you can get away with a pretty old video card if you're not into the gaming and all the rest of it. And tomorrow we get back to doing real work out in the shop. Enough of this fiddly stuff. Maybe I'll play some video games. What's the one the kids are playing? Fortnites. I gotta play some Fortnites. Where do I get Fortnites? How much does that cost? Anyways, this has been Schneb teaching you something different today. All right, there we are, first run. You can see this thing's got all kinds of glowies that I didn't know about. Look at that, motherboard's all lit up like you wouldn't believe. All kinds of stuff's flashing. It's pretty fancy, I'll tell you. But no fire, no sparks. It's almost boring. I don't even know my video card did all that. Celebratory drink of coffee for that one.